This week, I ran 17 tests over 5 days to assess my mobility, power, strength, and endurance. Not to chase PRs, but to guide decision-making with my next block of training. On Monday, we looked at mobility to see what I have access to and what I maybe don't. We tested broad jump to look at power, then deadlifts to look at strength, push-ups to look at relative strength. Then Tuesday, we did a math 5K test to look at aerobic efficiency. Wednesday, we came back to the gym to test rear foot elevated split squats for symmetry and our strength. Then pull-ups to look at another relative strength test. And finally, farmer carries to test grip, posture, under load, and time. Then Thursday, we did a 30-minute aerobic threshold run to look at aerobic power, as well as guide my zones in my upcoming training. We took Friday off, which worked out great, 4th. And then Saturday, we did a 3-mile ruck test, looking at endurance under load. This isn't just testing for testing's sake, it's a training audit. Honest feedback to help me drive future training. All right, guys, beyond strength testing week. So the first thing that we're gonna do is what's called a sit and rise test. So what we wanna see is, can we cross our feet, sit down on the floor with control, then lean forward, stand back up under control. If you can do that without using any point of contact other than your feet, you get a full 10 out of 10. For every point of contact that you need to use on the way down beyond your feet, so say I used one hand, that would subtract 1 point on the way down. If I did the same thing on the way up, that would subtract 1 point on the way up, giving me a score of 8. The goal is to be an 8 or above. Next up, we have shoulder mobility. So we're gonna go through 3 different things here for shoulder mobility. So the first one is called an Apley scratch test. But I'm gonna take my hand, try and touch the top of my opposite shoulder blade, then come underneath, try and touch the opposite shoulder blade. I'm gonna do that on each side, all right? Impingement clearing test. So this comes from the FMS screen. So all we're doing here is screening for pain. We're gonna grab a hold of our opposite shoulder. Imagine that we have $1 million check glued underneath our palm. Don't let it fall out. I'm gonna raise my elbow as high as I can and just check, do I have any pain or discomfort here? Now, pain or discomfort, but if you feel a stretch, I want you to check in. This might be a stretch, but there should never be a stretch on the closing angle. So anything on the closing angle would be defined as pain or discomfort. And then we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. Palm glued down, raise our elbow as high as we can, check for pain or discomfort. We're gonna go shoulder flexion test. So we're gonna go ahead, have our arms at our sides, standing up nice and tall, ear over shoulder, over hip, over knee, over ankle. And then we're gonna try and bring our arms out overhead as high as we can get them and see if we can do this without flaring our ribs and bending our back. This is one where I will say, do as I say, not as I do. Forever, as long as I can remember anyways, my arms have never been able to straighten. So do this with straight arms. Don't do it with bent arms like me. Can you get your arms, biceps by your ears, all the way overhead without flaring your ribs and dumping your hips forward? That's shoulder mobility. Now hip mobility. We're gonna have our feet together. Toes are gonna be slightly pulled towards our shins. So we don't need to be like, as hard as we can go, but we also don't want them pointing away, all right? So we've got our feet together. Arms can be across our shoulders or at our sides with our palms up. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna raise one leg at a time, slow and controlled, as high as we can, without letting either knee bend or either foot roll out to the side. One leg at a time. We're just gonna go ahead and raise that sucker up as high as we can. And what we're looking for here is, can we get our ankle past the kneecap of our down leg? You might need someone else to eye you up on this one. Corey, am I past?
I would say you were passed.
Awesome. Let's do same on the other side. This is actually one of my biggest struggles, is this test.
That also appears to be a pass.
Awesome. Okay, now, seated toe touch. So we're gonna come up, legs straight, can we touch our toes? We're gonna go standing toe touch. Legs relatively straight, can we touch our toes? Our final test is a resting squat assessment. Now on paper, what we'd like to see you be able to do is have your feet about shoulder width apart, So meaning we don't want to get way out here to pull this off. About shoulder width apart. Can we drop down into a deep squat, hamstrings touching calves, and just comfortably hang out in this position? Doesn't matter that my back is rounded. This isn't a squat position that we're loading up. Just can we get into a resting squat and comfortably hang out? And on paper, could you do that for 2 minutes? Once you've seen this enough times, you can generally eye up if someone can hold that for 2 minutes, so we don't always have people do that. But if there's a question, you should see if you can do it for the full 2 minutes. So that's our mobility testing. We have an ebook coming out that's going to cover everything I just said, but then also what to do with that information. And I'll make sure I put a link in this video so you guys can snag that. Let's jump into our power testing here on Monday. Come up, we're gonna go into our broad jump testing, but we don't just jump straight into the broad jump. Just start to get my legs ready for the force of the broad jump. Now, I'm gonna go through broad jumps very, very light. I'm gonna do a 25% effort, take my time, walk it out, then a 50% effort, same thing, 75% effort. And then when we get into the actual testing itself, it's gonna be the best of 3 attempts. My horrible coach joke is we do these whenever we're doing testing, when someone does their 25% jump, say that they jumped 5 feet. I'm like, cool, so your broad jump's gonna be 20 feet. It's horrible, I know. I should cut that to myself. 75%. I mean, that's 8 flat. The thing is, like, when you're doing them light, it's almost easier because you stay relaxed. And
I agree.
And then people's problem is whenever they go to test, they jump, and then they jump, like they don't jump as far.
I agree. I agree.
All right, so first attempt of my 3. 8-7. Goal is to be over 8 feet, so we're good there, but I wanna see if I can hit 9 foot today. Marker. Jump. That's 10 foot, that man.
You're gonna go for 10?
My trick is don't put a marker at what you're aiming for.
I agree.
Put a marker beyond where you
Yeah.
relax, fast. 8'9".
Okay.
So we've been doing this testing here at the gym, a version of this testing here at the gym since 2021. And we've done broad jumps going all the way back to when I first opened the gym in 2011. But as we test it here in the gym, the goal for men is to jump over 8 foot, and for women it's to jump over 6'6". Also, that's for our black level. For our purple level, for men, it's your height plus 1 foot. For women, it's your height plus 6 inches. (8'9". That's the same as what I said the last one. All right, so now we're gonna go on to our deadlift testing. I'm gonna do at least 2 times body weight, but in the back of my mind, depending on how warm-ups feel, I might go for 2.5 times body weight for 5 reps today, but I could also cut this part out of the video if that doesn't go too well. So I'm just gonna do an easy 5 here. Then I'm gonna take a little bit of a break, add a little bit more weight, and then I'm gonna do a moderate 3. So this is gonna be 275 for an easy 3. So easy. I'm just gonna do a single rep here at 365. This will be the first rep where I get an idea of how I'm feeling today. Easy. I weighed 167 this morning. I gotta do some math. So 167 times 2.5 would be 417 and a half. So minus 365 would be 52 and a half pounds. I'm gonna go 25s. So this will be 420 pounds. 167 times 2.5, 417 and a half, which means that I'm gonna do just slightly over 2.5 times body weight if this feels good for 5 reps. We'll see. Anytime I'm testing, I get nervous. I don't know what is up with that. Reframe, remind myself, it's not nerves, it's rocket fuel. Take that. And then we have our push-up test as the final test for our Monday testing. This push-up test is a little bit different. What we're gonna do, instead of just doing as many as you can straight through, you're gonna hear the world's most annoying timer. It's gonna beep every 3 seconds. Every time it beeps, I'm gonna go down, up, and then hold a plank position between reps. Gonna do as many reps as I can in that manner. And here in the gym, to hit our black level is 25 reps in this manner. Now, we've had people go over 100 reps, but it's hard for me, if I'm being completely honest. This is one of the tests that I struggle on the most. Partly, I think, because my arms don't fully straighten. I don't know, maybe psychological as well, because if you and I were to set up in a push-up competition where it was like 5 minutes on the clock, accrue as many push-ups as you can in that time, I feel confident to say I could hang with and probably beat most anybody. But as soon as I have to hang out in that isometric plank at the top, my shoulders burn up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm happy with 25. I hate that test.
I'm out here at Potomac Falls High School. Here's the deal, about to go do a math 5K test. So essentially I'm gonna run the fastest 5K I can while keeping my heart rate under 180 minus my age. I'm nervous for this test. I'll be completely honest with you. I've passed it a million times before, but I took a very long time off running and I'm competitive, right? So I'm gonna be very disappointed if I don't get this. And I'm also dealing with this heat wave here in Virginia still. Is already 75 degrees and 90% humidity this morning. So just stacking excuses in case this doesn't go well, right? No, but let's get out there, let's party. I'll tell you right now, this is gonna be the worst result I've ever gotten on this test. You can hear my heart monitor beeping. This heat and humidity sucks. And on the run, Garmin's like -4 in terms of my readiness. And then a pop-up comes up from 8 sleep. Your heart rate was higher than usual last night. Are you feeling low energy? It's like, yeah, something like that. Getting into it now.
That was the most frustrating run. Outside of the time that I rolled my ankle in the middle of a, 16 or 18 mile run, and dealt with that. Besides that, that was the most frustrating run I have ever had. I'd like to think that the humidity and the heat really messed me up, but the reality is I have run that in recent training sessions. I've run a lower heart rate, faster 5K, and yeah, that was absolute garbage. So let's look at it. Mile 1, 10:20. Mile 2, 11:10. Mile 3, 11:30. The final 0.12 was 1:22.8, which brings the total to not on here because there was about this much time where I was thinking, you know what, I'm not even gonna post this part of the video, but I will. But I'm also going to go and retest this as soon as we have things cool off here in Virginia. I'm also excited to send the threshold test on Thursday. Honestly, kind of for myself, to show myself I do have the fitness, even though I know it. Even though I know I've had literally better 5Ks in recent training, I need to redo that one
for me. And I need to send the threshold test and get a good result for me because that's messing with my head. I'm not gonna lie to you. So, but that's it for today. I'm gonna cool off physically and mentally the rest of the day, get some work done here for the gym, and then we'll be back tomorrow where I'm very confident things are gonna go better. We'll see you tomorrow.
Day 3 of testing week is upon us. I'm not gonna lie, I woke up this morning and I was like, I feel altogether different than I did yesterday. And for a minute, I had myself convinced that I was gonna go redo the Math 5K run. And then I had discussions with my wife, really thought things over, and it was like, just stick to the plan. What is that gonna do? I go and it goes wrong again, and it just sets me up on this cascade of negative feelings today. Or I go and it goes great, but then I don't really have the recovery I needed before the threshold test tomorrow, so I'm sticking to the plan. Today we've got rear foot elevated split squats, we've got a pull-up test, and then we've got a farmer carry test. Tomorrow, that threshold test. Friday is a planned day off. Maybe, I doubt it, maybe I'll redo the Math 5K on Friday, but even if I don't retest it on Friday, we've got a number of planned easy runs coming up in the next 4 weeks. So I'll have an opportunity to kind of recapture that test then. I have my hunch about what went wrong because something very interesting happened yesterday that I never do, which is I sat down for a minute and just passed out. And I think I passed out for like an hour or maybe even a little bit more, and got up and I felt amazing. And I was like, okay, I think I'm under recovered or I'm fighting something off. I don't know. But what I do know is that today I feel great. So maybe that has something to do with how yesterday went, because I know damn well I'm more fit than that test showed. But that's also a lesson for anyone going through any type of testing or putting a ton of emotional stock into one outcome, which is that any given day, you can be off. So don't put too much emotional stock in this stuff. Get curious as to why the outcomes may be what they are, and know that you can always come back to those things if you feel like it is a fluke. All right, so let's jump into today's testing, starting with rear foot elevated split squats. So what we're looking for here is just 75% body weight. Here in the gym testing for our black level, 75% body weight for 8 reps on each leg. Within this testing, we say 75% body weight for 5 reps on each leg, but I'm gonna go for much more than that. I'm not sure what yet, but again, I weighed 167 this morning. This is already 155 on the bar. I'm gonna do this for 3 reps. It's gonna be 205, I'm gonna do for a single. Now, what I'm gonna switch to at this point is I'm gonna let the safety bar sit lower and the handles kind of point down so I can take my hands off. And now I'm not gonna pull on the rails whatsoever, but I'm gonna have my hands on the rack, just because at this weight, the consequences of losing my balance would be pretty catastrophic. So I've got this just for a little bit of balance. Really easy. I don't want to destroy my legs before the threshold run. So 1.5 times my body weight, which is 167, would be 250.5 pounds. This is 255. I think I'm just gonna do 5 reps on each leg here, record that as my result. I'm also making the assumption I'm gonna get it, but I'm fairly certain I'm gonna get it. So this will be my test. Definitely still had a few reps in reserve, but I'll take that. Now we're gonna take probably 5 minutes, and then we've got a body weight pull-up test, just max reps, body weight only. So I don't know about a goal here. I have honestly been doing all weighted chin-ups. It's been a few months, maybe a couple months since I've done any regular pull-ups and body weight only repetition. Couldn't tell you the last time I did that, probably the last time that I tested it. So I would be pumped with 15 here. I will be upset if I get less than 12. But 20, going for 20. I need to put that number in my head. Because there's like this psychological thing that happens if you're like, 15 would be great. You get really fatigued at like 13 and you eke out 2 more. Whereas if you tell yourself 20, you get really fatigued at 18 and you eke out 2 more. I don't know if that'll be the case here, but. Kind of 18. I don't know what's up with me this week. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy with the numbers, but I'm not happy with how I feel. Like, I'm shaky. And at the beginning of the week, I was telling myself it was nerves, but I feel like I'm fighting something off. Fingers crossed that's not what's going on right now, but I'm happy with that. So the farmer carry test is gonna be 75% body weight carried for max time. So 167 times 0.75, 125.25 divided by 2. I'm gonna be carrying orange 28 kilo kettlebells. So 28 kilo kettlebells. The testing goal is to be able to carry them for at least 90 seconds. I would like to smoke that, but we'll see. Again, I feel very weird this week. I'm very shaky. I don't know what that is. I train a lot, and I don't often feel like this. And it's not like, oh, Chris, you just did 18 pull-ups and took yourself to the limit. Like, no, like, I was shaky right after the rear foot elevated, and I've been training heavy. That wasn't at all close to a rep max. This is weird. So let's see what happens. 2, 1, go. Four minutes. If someone had a gun to me, could I have kept going a little bit longer? Yeah. But I'm happy with that. 4 minutes.
Thursday morning, we are out here at Potomac Falls track, and I finally got the balls to put the drone up, at least just to get some footage before I actually get out here on the track. But 30-minute threshold test, gonna do 15 minutes, nice and easy to warm up, a couple strides mixed in the last 5 minutes, walk it out for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then send it for 30 minutes at my fastest sustainable pace. Goal is to go sub 7-minute miles, but we'll see, because I've been nothing but surprised by the endurance testing so far this testing week, so let's go.
So, hit the goal, wound up holding an average of 640 something a mile, but I came out too fast. I was like, in the first mile, saying I came out too fast, it did not feel too fast. That first mile felt pretty easy. The only thing I noticed was towards the tail end of that first mile was that my glutes started cramping pretty hard. And I'm like, oh no, the rear foot elevated split squats. But that kind of dissipated. And then what I really feel like is the limiter are my lungs. And what's cool is I have this lung trainer that I have not really used. It's like this weird bag that you breathe into. So I'm gonna mess around with that based on how this felt. But all in all, I'm super happy with the result. Met the goal of coming in sub 7, and now I know what pace I will run my threshold intervals at here in this next phase of training. I'm gonna continue to cool down, walk the track here a little bit, and then get out of here, finish up some work for the day to get this new program ready, and I'll talk to you soon.
Good morning. Happy 5th of July. Out here for our final day of testing week. I actually came over to Algonquian Park. I was gonna go to the track, took a shot, not open, fence wasn't unlocked. So here at Algonquian Park, I'm actually gonna go out on the original course for the Run Carry Ruck. I've actually done it here twice. This is where we were planning on doing the race originally. And then, like I said in a previous video, the park threw us for a loop and put us in a different area, which I think will actually work out better. But for today's test, this is perfect because basically it is just out and back, straight shot out, straight shot back, mostly on gravel. It's almost exactly 3 miles end to end. So, but before we jump into that, this is rare for me. So I'm gonna try and, there we go. So readiness 70. With it being the 4th of July, we were up till, I don't know, after 11. Fireworks, friends over, great time, 0 regrets. But sleep, 67, lowest heart rate, 53. I'm normally closer to low to mid 40s. 4 hours, 54 minutes of sleep. HRV, average of 47, max of 80. So did not drink, couldn't tell you the last time I drank, but that's kind of what things look like, at least how they used to look if I drank. So if I had to do the math 5K today, I'd be freaking out like, oh no, I'm gonna be terrible. But to just put a pack on my back and go for a brisk walk, 0 concerns. This isn't gonna affect me at all. And honestly, even if today was like a big race, I mean, for the Georgia Death Race, the start was 5 something in the morning, but I wanted to get up, get a ton of food in. So I think I was up at 2:30 in the morning and got hardly any sleep the night before I ran 74 miles. So you don't need a perfect night of sleep before you go do hard things. And when it comes to game day, you probably won't have a perfect night of sleep before you go do the thing. So 3 miles, 20% on my back in the rucksack, 172. Yesterday I was 167. Had really good ribeyes, potatoes, all kinds of great food yesterday. 0 regrets there again. 35 pounds on my back, out and back, 3 miles. Here we go.
$12:54 for mile 1. Mile 2 in 13:01. I gotta make up a little bit of time. Wanted to go sub 13 on all of them. Barely missed, but missed. And it's so much faster to walk on paved. Just the very end, I'm at 2.94. 12:50. Very happy with that. All right, 3 miles done. So we have a 12:56, a 13:01, 12:50. Yeah. Heart rate, even though I sound like I'm breathing heavy, heart rate's 145. So walking on back to the truck, that's a day. So biggest takeaway from the week, honestly, I'm not happy with my running. The math 5K, sure, in this heat, but it felt rough. The threshold run, while I'm happy with the pace, it came at a cost. My heart rate was way too high for that effort. It's a good reminder. Strength is there, I feel capable, But if I want to be able to say yes to the challenges that I care about in the coming year, my run capacity has to come back up. So this next block, yeah, I'll be lifting, of course. That's what we do here. But I'll be getting all of my runs in. Easy runs, threshold runs, long runs, you name it. So this wasn't about chasing numbers, it was about checking in, getting data, and using it to train smarter.